Welcome back to TradeSmart, where we test objective rules-based strategies 100 times and code the best ones into TradingView trading scripts so you can automate your trading. Today I am bringing you something very exciting or brand new script based on the DeadZone Strategy by DaviddTech. First, for those who prefer manual trading, I will show you a simple optimization of the original DeadZone Strategy that works on every single time frame from 5 minutes to daily. I have never came across a strategy like that, and I'm not kidding. Then, to showcase the new features of the DeadZone script, we will show you how to set up the Simplified DeadZone strategy with our script and how you can get access to it today. But that's not all. I will also take a deep dive into a complex optimization that I've built for the DeadZone strategy and show you how it's performed over the last 5 years. Without further ado, let's get right into it. First of all, open up TradingView and set up the BTC USDT 30-minute chart. For the original DeadZone strategy, you will need 4 indicators: an entry signal indicator, a confirmation indicator, a trend filter, and a stop loss and take profit indicator. Let's add them to the chart. First, let's add our primary entry signal indicator, which is the WADA ATAR. Add this one to your chart. The second indicator is going to be a confirmation indicator, the range filter. Click on this one. After that, we will need a trend filter, and for that purpose we will use the T3 average. Click on this one. Finally, for the original DeadZone strategy, we will need an ATR-based stop loss, and for that purpose we are using the NNFX ATR. Add this one. For my simplified optimization of this strategy, I used one more filter indicator, and that is the RSI. So add this one to your chart. Okay, now we have all of our indicators on the chart. Now let me briefly explain how this strategy works. For a long entry, we want to see that the price is above the T3 moving average. After that, we want to see that we have a green range filter line, which is this middle line. Finally, we want to see that the yellow line, which is the explosion line, is above the white line, which is the DeadZone line. And that happens right on this candle. Also, the WADA ATAR bars needs to be green for a valid long entry. As you can see, the conditions are met on this candle, so this would have been a long entry. For a short, we want to see exactly the opposite. So, the price is under the T3 moving average, the explosion line needs to be above the DeadZone line, and the WADA ATAR bars needs to be red or orange. And finally, the range filter needs to be red. As you can see, all of the conditions are met on this candle, so this would have been a really good short entry. Stop loss would have go to the NNFX ATR, and the take profit could have been anything you like. But in this case, this trade could have been even a 1-to-6 risk-to-reward ratio trade. Now let me show you how to trade the simplified optimization I made for this DeadZone strategy. First of all, we will need to change some settings. The T3 should be set to 100 length, and I colored it white. On the range filter, these are my settings, and I'm pretty sure these are the default ones. You can change the style as you like, I only disallowed the bar color. For the ATR, first, change the X value, which is the ATR length, to 80, and change the SL value, which is the stop loss, to 3. Then go to the Styles tab, untick the Buy TP, the Sell TP, and the main ATR, and finally change the line styles to Step Line. For the WADA ATAR explosion, I use these settings, and I also change the explosion lines and the DeadZone lines style, so it will be more visible. And finally, for the last indicator, which is the RSI, I left the default settings, which is 14 length and the close source. I untick the RSI based MA as we won't need that, and also make sure that the RSI upper band is set to 70 and the RSI lower band is set to 30. Now pay close attention as I'm about to explain the exact rules for the simplified DeadZone strategy that generated these results. Here you can see a valid long entry. For a long entry, first we want to see that the price is above the T3 moving average. After that, the range filter, which is this middle line, needs to be green. Next up, on the WADA ATAR, the explosion line, which is the yellow line, needs to be above the white dead zone line. And that happens right on this candle. And finally, for the RSI filter, we want to see that in case of a long position, the RSI line is above the 70 level. Yes, you heard me right, it needs to be above the 70. If you take a closer look, here almost all the entry conditions are met, except the RSI. But on the next candle, the RSI broke through the 70 level, the explosion line is still above the white dead zone line, the price is above the T3, and the range filter is green. So this candle is our long entry signal. Entry level at the close of this signal candle or at the open of the next candle. The stop loss will be placed at the lower NNFX ATR line, which is pretty hard to see right now, so we have to zoom in a little bit, but it will be right there. Finally, for this strategy, we don't have a fixed take profit level. Instead, we are going to use the ATR to trail our stop loss as the price moves up and up. So at first we would have our stop loss right here. But if on the next candle the ATR line is a bit higher, we would move our stop loss to that level. And as you can see on the candle after that, it's even higher, then a bit lower, after that it's higher again, and so on and so on. We will only exit the position if one candle closes under the previous highest ATR level. And as you can see, this was the latest high ATR level, and this candle closed under the NNFX ATR line. So we would have exited the position right on the open of the next candle. In this case, this strategy would have been a 1 to 3.36 risk-to-reward ratio trade. Now let's take a look at a short example, then I will show you the backtesting results starting from the 5-minute chart until the daily chart. Here is a valid short entry signal. For a valid short entry, first we need to see that the price is under the T3 moving average. After that, the range filter needs to be red. Then on the WADA ATAR, the explosion line, which is the yellow line, needs to be above the white dead zone line. And finally, the RSI needs to be below the 30 level. And again, yes, it needs to be below the 30. I know this is not the usual way of using the RSI as a filter, but for this strategy, this works perfectly. Entry level will be at the close of the signal candle or at the open of the next candle. The stop loss will be placed at the NNFX ATR line, which is right there. And again, we won't have a fixed take profit level, as we are going to trail our stop loss as the price moves lower and lower. So at the start, our stop loss will be right here, unless the NNFX ATR moves below the previous stop loss. So as you can see, that doesn't happen until this candle. So after the close of this candle, our updated stop loss would be right there. On this candle, it's even lower. And we will continue this process until the stop loss is hit. If you follow closely this blue line, this is exactly how the stop loss would have updated until the end. So the strategy would have exited the trade after this candle has closed, so on the open of the next candle. This trade wasn't as successful as the long entry example, but it has still a 1 to 0.54 risk-to-reward ratio. Finally, the last rule for this strategy is that you can only trade the weekdays, not the weekends. So from Monday till Friday you are okay to trade, but on Saturday and Sunday you can't. Okay, now you know how to trade manually this strategy. Now let me show you how you can set up this exact same strategy on our new Premium DeadZone Strategy script. To get access to this and all of our other premium scripts and optimizations, become one of our Smart Trader tier Patreon supporters. Once you're a supporter, you will find all of our scripts in the invite-only section. So choose the DeadZone script and add it to the chart. Once you open up the DeadZone strategy, first of all, disable all the filters that are ticked. After that, on the top, you can see the settings for the range filter. Here you can set up the base settings, just like in the range filter indicator, and you have an option that says enter based on. If you click on this, you can see two different methods, the last signal and the current signal. Here, if you move your cursor around this info button, you can see that the last signal has to be buy for a long entry and sell for a short entry. This is exactly what I used for this simplified DeadZone strategy. On the other hand, the current signal option requires a buy or a sell signal from the range filter as an entry signal. So, if we would have used the current signal option, we could have only entered into a buy position if the range filter prints a buy signal, or into a sell position if it prints a sell signal. Next up, you can see the WADA ATAR settings. The first setting is the explosion dead zone relation. This means that how the explosion line, which is this yellow line, should be compared to this white dead zone line. If you open up its settings, you can see three different options. The first is the explosion over dead zone. That's what we used with the Simplified strategy. If you use this one, the yellow line, which is the explosion line, needs to be above the white dead zone line. The second option is the explosion under dead zone. This is exactly the opposite. So for a valid entry, the yellow line would need to be under the white line. And the third option is not specified. So in this case, we would ignore the explosion and the dead zone line. The next option you can set is the limit trades based on trends. If you open up this section, you can see four different options. First, we have the strong trends. If we would have used this option, the strategy would have only entered into a long position if the WADA ATAR bar is dark green, as that is a sign of a stronger trend. On the other hand, it could have only entered into a short if the WADA ATAR bar is dark red, which means a stronger bearish trend. The other option is the soft trends, which means, in case of a long position, these lighter green bars, as that is usually a not so strong bullish trend. And in case of a short, it would have only entered into a short if we have an orange WADA ATAR bar, which means a weaker bearish trend. As you can see, for the Simplified strategy, I used all trends, which means that the strategy can enter into a long position if it's either dark green or lighter green, and into a short if it's dark red or orange. Simple as that. You can also choose not to specify, and if you choose this one, it allows the strategy to enter into a long position even if the WADA ATAR bar is red. The third section is the WADA ATAR bar value. Here we can choose from two options. Either the WADA ATAR bar needs to be over the explosion and dead zone line, or it is not specified. For this Simplified strategy, we are using the over explosion and dead zone option. That means that in case either a long or a short entry, the WADA ATAR bar needs to be above both of the explosion and the dead zone line. Why is that a good option? Well, if you take a look at this price action, this is pretty flat. Not much movement happening, and there are not many good opportunities to make a profit. And as you can see, in those cases, the WADA ATAR bars are usually under the dead zone line. Finally, here you have all the other settings for the WADA ATAR explosion. Okay, if you have followed correctly, we already have the range filter and the WADA ATAR set up for this Simplified strategy, but we also need to set up the stop loss and take profit method, the T3 moving average, and the RSI filter. Let's start with the stop loss and take profit. As I explained before, we will use a simple ATR stop loss, so tick the ATR based stop loss option, and set up an 80 length and leave the smoothing at RMA. Also change the base risk to 3. And as we won't use a fixed risk-reward ratio, set it to an extremely high value, for example 100. With this we have only set up our stop loss placements, but not the trading stop loss. So if you scroll a bit further, here we have the trading stop loss section. So to enable a trading stop loss, just tick this box. Then for the type, choose ATR. And for the ATR length, set up an 80. And for the ATR factor, a 3. Also, leave the smoothing at RMA. And finally, you have to tick this box, which makes the strategy only exit if the price closes under or over the trading stop loss. As this strategy trades longs and shorts too, we will tick the allow long entries and the allow short entries. For the order size, I used 1% risk per trade, compounding, which is this option. Moving on, for the trend filter, here you have to set up the trend filter for longs and for shorts. As we are using the T3 average, click on the MA type and choose T3. Then set its length to 100 and the source to close. Do the same with the use short trend filter 1 option, so T3 moving average, 100 length and at the close source. And finally, here is the RSI limiter. To use the RSI limiter, tick the box next to it. Set the RSI limiter type to reverse, the RSI length to 14, the RSI source to close, the simple RSI long boundary to 70, and the simple RSI short boundary to 30. And on the bottom, we can also limit the valid trading days to only trade on the weekdays and not on the weekends. To do that, as you can see, we have to exclude the 1, which is Sunday, and the 7, which is Saturday. So I simply leave 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as valid trading days. And congratulations, you have set up the Simplified strategy with our Premium script. In this video, I won't go into all the stop loss, trade management options, and filters that all of our Premium scripts have, as it would take more than an hour. But if you are seriously interested, I've linked a tutorial video of the version 1.0 Premium TradeSmart scripts down in the description. And now, let me show you the results of this simple strategy on all the time frames from 5 minutes to daily chart. The backtesting results you see right now are without taking fees into consideration, but don't worry, I will also show you the results with fees included in just a minute. So, if I apply a normal trading fee of 0.05% per trade and the 2-tick slippage, the strategy is still profitable on the 10-minute, 30-minute, 1-hour, 2-hour, 4-hour and the daily charts. In my opinion, with fees, this is really impressive. And finally, let me show you a complex optimization I recently made for this strategy that would have generated over 4000% net profit over the last 5 years with fees included. This optimization uses slightly different settings than the one I showed you before, and it also uses several other filters. Filters such as distance from moving average limiter, a momentum filter, an ADX limiter, and a volume filter. Monitoring, managing, and backtesting such a complex strategy manually would be a nightmare. That's why we create these Premium TradingView scripts that can do all that automatically with just a few clicks. Let's take a look at the results that this complex DeadZone strategy generated over the last 5 years, including fees. From 2018 till 2023, this strategy took 555 trades, had a 2.15 profit factor and generated an amazing 4293% net profit. The equity curve looks amazing and only has a 10% maximum drawdown. Well, what do you think of this script and the strategy? Do you have any idea how we could improve it? Let us know down in the comment section. If you want to get access to all of our premium scripts, including this one, and support us so we can continue making free videos like this in the future, become a Smart Trader tier member on our Patreon. And that wraps up today's video. As always, thank you all for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, have an amazing day and see you in the next video.